Web development does not need to be nearly as complex as it is. In the beginning, there were values, and it was good. In particular, numbers existed to count quantities of things. There was no notion of a future number, not a negative number. There wasn't even a notion of a zero. Then evolved the need for a null value, an absence of any value, the zero. Several thousand years after we began counting things, we invented the zero. Another 1,000+ years, and we invented computing. Now in computing, there's a tension between do you have something or do you have nothing? In programming today, the ubiquity of the null reference exception shows what problems that tension causes. An abstraction layer needed to exist, one that would allow seamless interoperation between values and non-values. That abstraction layer is the list, also known as the collection, the array, the enumerable, or the iterable. At the present state of our evolution in computing, the iterable is a first-class concept, and we use it to solve real problems. If iteration sees an empty list, it does nothing. A list of 1, it does something once, and so on, through a potentially infinite number of values. One doesn't ask if a value is null. One just iterates over all there is, and this is good. But with the advent of distributed programming, many values we need are no longer synchronously available. The notion of a promised value, a future, had to exist. It's required to be able to work with a value whose value will exist at some point in the future. In JavaScript, a promise might have been designed to include a value that is knowable now, but its creators intentionally decided to limit promises to representing values that are only knowable at some point in the future. There's a minimum time a promise must exist in the future. It's called a tick. A promise can take any amount of time from a tick to infinity to deliver its single value, but not 0 time. This produces a new tension in the time dimension. Is a value, or is it a promise? It's challenging to compose between future values and present values. Race conditions and difficulty writing correct, simple code are the costly symptoms. It's the same kind of tension that iterables solved, just rotated 90 degrees. So one must ask, would it be possible to span this entire 2D plane with a new kind of value? One that relieves the tension between synchronous and promised values, between values and lack of values. There is. It was born in 2012. It's called the observable. Observables can contain any number of values over any amount of time. An observable can represent a synchronous process like rmfile.txt that produces no values. An observable can represent the synchronous value 5, or the first 5 Fibonacci numbers, or the synchronous non-value empty. An observable can represent the result of a single AJAX request, or many items separated by time, such as a stock ticker feed or a stream of user clicks. Observables are often referred to as streams, but now we see they can model any subset of a stream as well. So we see now at the theoretical level that observables unify the 2 dimensions of time and multiplicity into a single data type. thus allowing observables to compose with other observables seamlessly. All the values we currently work with can be upcast or lifted into an observable. Web development does not need to be nearly as complex as it is. Only 33 years after the dawn of web development, we can interoperate more easily than before by using observables. And it didn't take thousands of years like the invention of the zero. When you use a superset of the data types, the problems resulting from their mismatch simply go away. And you can count on that. So please, follow up with these links to learn how to apply Observables, RxJS, and the Omnibus RxJS library to the apps you're building. Thanks for listening.